welcome to the Launching Academy podcast. And today we have this very special guest, Dion. He's a business coach. He's going to introduce himself in a minute. We're going to talk about how to program our minds to success. So Dion, thank you so much for coming. I'm super
Thank you for having me, Manu.
And could you start telling us who you are and what's your business about? What do you do?
Yeah, cool. So my name's Dion. As Manu said, I'm based right here on the Sunshine Coast. I've had the pleasure of meeting Manu in person, but I'm an online business coach, and I'm a father of two. I've got two beautiful little ones and my partner here on the Sunshine Coast as well. But I've been in the business world since I was 17, and I'm now 33, so getting on. But throughout my journey, I had some really early quick success. And then I had the blessing as well of losing it all when I was 25. And I learned some massive lessons along the journey where I ended up going back to almost square one, where I had to go back and get a job. And I'm not saying there's anything bad with a job, but when I went from like running businesses for around 5 to 7 years, it was very humbling, to say the least, when I literally lost everything. I was living in my car, which I'm sure we might get to the story at some stage. But ever since then, I've been involved in brick and mortar businesses, but obviously we all know about the pandemic over the last couple of years. We were forced to shut down our gyms really quickly. So I was forced to pivot online and build online businesses. And I haven't looked back since. It's definitely hasn't been a smooth road, but I get to love every moment of it. We live in our beautiful penthouse here on the Sunshine Coast, and we're home every day with the kids, and it's worth every challenge we have. But along this journey, it's some of the things we're going to cover today. Is what I've noticed is so many people are really looking for a secret to success, or looking for that one key piece of information of how they can really break through and succeed, so to say. So we'll be touching on that today, because that's what I'm really obsessed with, like helping people unlock their limitless potential, so to say, to achieve what it is that they want, when there's really some really simple principles that people can follow. So if they're listening now, make sure you've got a pen and paper, and I'm going to take you through some of the things that have helped me and what help a lot of my clients right now. And the business I spend most of my time in at the moment is helping coaches transfer from being in brick and mortar businesses, going online, getting their brand out there, market themselves, and do it in a way, excuse me, it sounds like they're renovating in the house as well. But basically I help people transition from like face-to-face coaching businesses, or like PTs and all that sort of stuff, transition online and build a business where they can work from anywhere. So that's my obsession.
You said so many people try to find this one point, this one strategy, and I feel this a lot. I feel that here, we have the agency, I mentor people, and I can give them the strategies, but I feel that the programming of the mindset is what's going to make them shift. So I would love if you could tell us a little bit more. For example, how did you do in that when you were 25, that things were not working the way you wanted or expected, to keep going, or what happened to get there? What were the strategies you took, or maybe tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah. So what happened is, in my early years, like I'm sure anybody that's listening to this, that they work on personal development and they've got a business that they want to build, or they believe in some sort of freedom or success, and that's different for everybody. But the thing is, everybody is looking for a secret or a shortcut to success. But really, if we want to break it down and we compare it to a fit person, right? Like, can anybody get fit? Anybody can get fit, right? And there's 4 key elements to getting fit. You've got to get enough sleep, you've got to exercise, you've got to drink enough water, and you've got to eat clean. And we all know that. Everybody knows that. If you want to get fit, that's all you have to do. But why don't people get fit? It's because it requires discipline and a certain amount of hunger for a goal that they really want. And the challenge is, I see so many people, myself included, is even if they do get fit, or even if they do become financially successful, so to say, they lose it. Why is it some people win the lottery and they lose all the money again and they end up back at square one? Why is it some people do like a 6-week challenge, for example, and they end up back to their old ways, and sometimes worse after a 6-week challenge? Mm-hmm. It's because most people, and myself included, was stuck in this stage for such a long time in my life. We're all so focused on what's going on outside of our eyes out here, right? We're so obsessed with some sort of physical result. You've got to understand, it's like, the physical result is always there, and it always has been, but it will never appear in front of you, or it will never be sustainable to you unless you change who you believe you are in here. Because what we've got is, we've all got like I call it like a mental thermostat, right? Like we've all got certain things. So for example, we've got a certain standard of who we think we are with fit, fitness wise. We've got a certain standard of who we think we are financially wise. We've got a certain standard of who we are in a relationship wise. And the thing is, everybody is good at something. Okay. So if you're listening to this right now, we've got a couple of people watching this live. I want you to think about something that you're really good at right now. That might be reading. It might be writing. It might be meditation. You might be a great partner. You might be a great parent. You might always be relatively fit. Whatever it is you're really good at right now, whatever you're thinking about right now in your mind, I guarantee you naturally tell yourself you're good at that. And you always have. But not only that, you constantly focus on that. You constantly let yourself get, for example, let's say you're naturally always really fit. Those people you notice that are always fit, it looks like they've just got a quick metabolism and they sort of eat whatever they want and they're just lucky. No. It's who they believe they are. So they subconsciously, whenever they get back to a certain standard of their body that people would still call relatively fit, they automatically shift up a gear and get themselves back to who they believe they are. Okay. And it's the same thing with success, happiness, fulfillment, whatever it is that you're looking for. You've got to understand your business, your clients, your coaching, your ads, whatever it is that you're working on in your business, they will be a direct reflection of your thoughts and who you believe you are without you even knowing. And the thing is, this is the hardest thing for people to understand.
It is.
And this is why I failed when I was 25. So what happened? When I first left school, I came from my dad's side of the family were very like, go to TAFE, go to uni, or get a qualification, or go to the army and have something to fall back on. And my mum's side was very entrepreneurial. But the thing is I craved love from my dad the most as a child, okay? And all of these challenges you have right now in your life, hopefully you might have some moments here that if you write this down, you can work on this stuff, because if you feel triggered or if you have a light bulb moment throughout this call right now, that's where your work is. That's where your internal work is. So anyway, when I left school, I started a business with my friend when we were just before I turned 18. We bought a franchise. We went to $100,000 of debt with my mate's dad's money, and we just weren't ready for business. And 12 months later, we just crushed the business. Like it was nothing. So my family literally shipped me off to the mines. And for a man, like I think I was 19 or 20 at this stage, back then in Australia, it was like the dream career to get in the mines. Like you're 20 years old, you're on $200,000 a year working at the mines, doing bugger all. It was like the dream career. And what happened is I was out at the mines, and I was probably about 3 years into working in the mines, earning great money, like everyone's dream, so to say. So they think. And about 3 years in, I started noticing I'd get back to the airport. Every time you'd have your days off, you go to the airport to fly back to work, to do your stint of work. If anybody's in Australia that they listen to this, that they know exactly what I mean. But if you're not, it was basically like you worked away from your family and that's why you earned more money, sort of thing. And, I'd get back to the airport every time we were flying back to work, and I'd see all these dads. One of my biggest dreams in life was to be a millionaire and have children and be a dad by the age of 30. That was all I wanted in life, was to be a millionaire and have kids. I was sitting down at the airport this one day, and I was sitting down with my mate, and he was just really upset. And at this stage, I hadn't been involved in too much personal development before. But what happened? I was sitting down with him. I just looked around, and all of these dads looked so depressed. And I'm like, Jimmy, what's going on, man? I was like, why are you so down in the dumps? We're flying out to work. Like, I loved it. It was just fun. You're out with the boys, working. And he said, man, look, he goes, we work for 3 weeks at a time, then we come back for 1 week a month. So he goes, I'm a dad 1 week a month, man. And that's when I just started questioning society, or questioning mediocrity of what we were told we were meant to do. And what happened, I started getting curious. So I'd go up, I'd be working with all of these different guys, and they were a lot older than me. They were all in their 40s and 50s. I was 20 years old. And I'd ask them, I'd be like, cool, so what's your goal, man? Like, what's your biggest goal? And they'd be like, I'm just going to do this for the next 5 to 10 years, pay off the mortgage and go home, live happily ever after. And none of them were doing it. None of them. And I was like, I need a way to get out of this. So I basically just started Googling stuff in my dongle, which was the place you stayed at when you're on the mine site at night, how to make money without working in the mines, because the mines was the dream career. And I came across a thing called network marketing, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. So I started looking into, these guys are making money with network marketing just by talking to other people. So anyway, I signed up to a network marketing company, and my mentor at the time, he was awesome. He gave me all the time in the world. And within 3 months in my network marketing thing on the side, I'd replaced my mining income in 3 months.
Wow.
But the thing was, I had such crazy growth in this business, my mindset didn't keep up with the income in the business. So about 4 years into this.
Can you say that again? Because I think this is important.
Cool. my mindset didn't keep up with the growth of my business. So little did I know, my success, so to say, my financial success was only going to be short term. But along this time, I remember on my 21st birthday, I believe, is when I announced to my family I was going to quit the mines and go full time on my business. And I remember this moment like it was yesterday, and it still gives me chills to this day. My dad said to me, like, when I told my family I was going to quit the mines, they're like, you're an idiot, you know, like it's the best job you can dream of, you know, like you're throwing away your life. And my dad said in front of my whole family, he said, D, you're a fucking letdown, mate. And that stuck with me for so long. And what happened is, what I didn't know until I started doing more work on myself, all of these patterns, all of these thoughts, all of these things in my head of what I'd been conditioned to as a child from my schooling, my parents, and my family, I was naturally defaulting back to average and mediocrity because I was scared of success, because the last time I got success, I still didn't get love and acceptance from my family.
Wow.
So
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. So at the age of 25, you're on the Sunshine Coast, so you know where Budrum is. At the age of 25, I had $1 million mansion, 2 beautiful BMWs, a trophy wife, my dog, and I was living the dream life, so to say. But to be honest, it all went to my head. I thought I was better than everybody. I thought I was the man, and I pushed a lot of people away. And then one night, like my partner at the time, she walked out on me, and I lost everything literally overnight. I'd gone from always having multiple 6 figures saved in the account to living the dream life to literally my car getting repossessed while I was sleeping at Point Cartwright. There's one of the boating docks at Point Cartwright. There was like an area where lots of people like camp out there. So I pulled my BMW there up, I remember one time, with my dog Brax, and we're sleeping in the back of the BMW, and it got repossessed. And that was when I was like, far out, like, what am I going to do? And I had a mentor at the time, and I went back to him. He said, until you take full ownership of your life and you let the inner child grow within you and become more than where he currently is right now, nothing's going to change. And that's where I became obsessed with personal development and working on myself more than anything else. Like, for example, is that just next, this is like what I'm currently working on right now. But thing is, another mistake I see people make, and they become obsessed with personal development and just absorbing all this stuff. It's like, I learned really quickly to start applying stuff into my life really quickly. So that's a bit about my story about how I got into it, but it's why I'm so passionate about helping people achieve what it is that they want, because 9 out of 10 businesses in Australia fail in the first 12 months. Out of that 10% that are left, in the next 3 years, 90% of them fail.
Wow.
And people think it's the business or it's the economy or this sort of stuff. It's not. It's you. And until people admit that, and until they look within, they're never going to achieve what it is that they want. They're going to be that person that wins lotto, and 12 months later, all the money's gone again. You know, they're going to be that person that keeps telling you, I'm overweight because it's in my genetics. You know, it's my family's been overweight, you know. Until you take full ownership of your life. And the way that you do that is acknowledge where you are now and start working on the stuff within. And all of those little thoughts that you have, all of that little voice inside your head that tells you can, you can't, you're good, you're bad, you're this, you're that. Until you start questioning and challenging that voice in your head consistently, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. And I can say this about myself as well. I can see that. How many times things are growing? This happened to me before. Now I'm a little bit more aware this happens as well, but things are growing, and then unconsciously I'm going to sabotage that growth in any area of my life. And again, it all comes from the childhood. It all comes from feeling like we need to belong. I think we said that before. Carl Rogers, humanistic psychologist, we all need to belong. And if we have to choose between success, between our financial goals, between whatever it is, and belonging in our head to our family, to the society, or whatever it is, we are going to choose this part.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but yeah, so that's where I was stuck at for a while. But if I can give your audience anything to take away from what I just said then, is I want you to think about something really quickly, because you hear all these corny sayings and all the quotes on Instagram, and people love sharing motivation, and sharing quotes, and that's great. But if you actually look into the substance and the actual, the deeper side of these quotes, we say, for example, is that we all know, we've all heard that business is 80% mindset, 20% skill, you know, yet everybody's still trying to just work out how to build a successful business, you know. Yeah. The thing is, it's like, if you want to learn how to build a course, do ads, if you want to learn how to use Canva, if you want to learn social media, can you learn all of that through YouTube if you really wanted to? 100%. So it's not a lack of resources. It's a lack of hunger generally in the person's mind. So for somebody that really wants to succeed or whatever it is that they want, firstly, they need to get clear on what does success mean and look like to them. Like they need to get clear on what it looks like to them, because if you keep on chasing the shiny object, whatever it is in your life, because you've seen somebody else do it, same thing, it will be short term. Because the only difference between you and the person you need to be to get the goal, or you and the person you admire that's already got the goal, is their hunger and discipline. They show up every single day, no matter what, they do what they're going to say every single time, but the first thing people need to do, they need to get clear on what sort of life do they need to live? Okay. Like they need to get clear on what does success, happiness, fulfillment look like to them, so that they can start creating that. And the next thing is they need to write down an actual goal. Like most people, like we've all heard about goals and you've got to write down your goals, but I guarantee you most people, like 9 out of 10 people that say they want to succeed and that sort of stuff, I bet you they've written down a goal maybe at their New Year's resolution. They haven't looked at it again. Like success leaves clues. You look at anybody that's achieved anything exponential in their life, they look at their goals every single morning, every single lunch, every single night, because they understand the science of achievement. And it's programming the RAS, your reticular activating system, a part in your mind, which is just like a GPS, to focus and stay focused on what it is that you want and draw things into your world, But the problem is that, yeah, you're about to say something.
What about what if someone is there trying to do these things that you were saying, but their minds is just going crazy. They are not even noticing that all the limiting beliefs are coming up. What could these people do?
So I'm a massive believer in everybody needs a mentor. Okay. Everybody needs a mentor. The reason why I say that, you look at the greats, you look at Michael Jordan, you look at Elon Musk, you look at Steve Jobs. All of the greats had mentors, even though they were the best of the best, And the reason why they had mentors is, let's think of this, right? Michael Jordan's playing on the basketball court, working his mind a million miles an hour, trying to shoot all this sort of stuff. He can't actually see everything that's going on and the mistakes he's making. But the reason why you have a coach is they can see it from a bird's eye view, see the whole situation and pick up things that you have done wrong. Okay. So the reason why I suggest everybody gets a mentor, or at least like a mentor could be the book. So for example, let's say you're reading this book here, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. By reading that book and implementing his principles, he's kind of like a mentor. You need to be actively working on yourself, the mental gym, every single day. Because like you just asked them, and it was like people self-sabotage themselves back to where they were originally because of who they believe they are subconsciously. Mm-hmm. The only way you'll get past that is by identifying those thoughts. Okay. So I believe there's 2 key things that most people miss. One of the things is, we've all heard it before, is, but I believe people got to audit constantly every single day 2 areas of their life. Audit 2 areas of their life. Number 1 is their proximity, is the people they're around. Okay. So one thing is you need to be constantly auditing, who do you surround yourself with? Who are you listening to? What are you reading? What do you do the first thing you do when you wake up? Because understand is your mind is naturally focused, like naturally programmed to think negative and live in fight or flight. When you live in fight or flight, it releases cortisol and stress, it halves your IQ, and you're reactive. Most people wake up, the first thing they do is they turn on the TV and they watch the news. The news freaks me out if I just watch 30 seconds of course. And then it's telling your mind to live in fear. Okay. So first things first is that you need to audit your surroundings. You need to audit who you surround yourself with. Like we've all heard the average of 5 and that sort of thing of the average of the 5 people you hang out with, but it's true. Like think about it. If I locked you in a house for a week straight with 10 chefs, the best chefs in the world, and you hated cooking, okay? I guarantee you, by hanging around these 10 chefs for 7 days, even though you don't like cooking and you'll never be a chef, I guarantee you'll probably know how to cook a little bit better. Maybe some little hacks and tricks how to cook faster, little herbs that change the whole spice, even though you weren't interested and you don't want to be a chef. Like so many people I work with, they're like, oh, so do you want me to just get rid of my friends and my family? I'm like, if you need to, it's up to you. How hungry are you for it? I've got a client, he's living with a really toxic family member. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, move out. He's like, how bad do you want it? Because you've got to understand is that you will naturally fall into the same path and the same beaten track as your ancestors, okay? Because your ancestral history has a DNA code, okay? Your DNA code is what you think, it's how you create, it's your energy you put out. Okay. So naturally, you think like your parents, you naturally do things just like your parents and what the parents have done, because it's naturally built into you. Until you rebel, so to say, and go against the grain. And anybody that does that, society, your friends and family, they try to pull you straight back into line.
Mm-hmm.
That's why most people don't succeed. People say that they want a goal and they put it out to the universe and the world. The world and the universe isn't just going to give it to you. They're going to go, great. How bad do you want it, mate? And they're going to throw things at you every single day, distractions, challenges, failures, another person to put you off track and go, come on, how bad do you want it? 1% make it, 1% live financially free and live life on their terms.
So in this 1%, normally what I hear from people is, for example, I'm lacking motivation or giving excuses. And my question is, do you believe in the phrase of Amy Cuddy, which is fake until you make it? Do you think this is the way to go when you're lacking motivation, or do you have other techniques in here?
Definitely. Firstly, I don't believe in motivation. Motivation's a word people made up to get motivated. Anybody can be motivated. Go to a Tony Robbins event, be motivated, yet only a few people go away and do anything with it. It's not sustainable. Okay. So I have shitty days, but I still commit to showing up every single day. So you've got to find your intrinsic motivation. And what that is getting clear on what you want, write down a plan and stick to it. Okay. That's the first thing. But when you say fake it till you make it, there's like some people warp that saying a little bit and they go and lease the Ferrari, and they go and do this and they over leverage and they haven't changed who they are, like they start making this money and they buy the car, but they are so scared they're going to lose all the money in that car one day and expose who they really are. Mm. So when I say fake it till you make it, is like, I've got a saying similar to that, which is be, do, have, which is behave. Okay. You need to think about why I say you've got to be clear on your goal is because you need to then ask yourself, great, for myself to attain that goal, who do I need to be? And then you can reverse engineer that. How would that person wake up? How would they dress? How would they walk? How would they talk? What would they eat? How would they show up? What energy do they put out? Are they grateful? What's their circle of friends like? So guarantee you might say you want it really bad right now, but if you snooze the alarm this morning and literally rejected life for another 10 minutes on the phone, you don't want it bad enough, And because the person you need to be wouldn't do that, The person you need to be shows up every single day. They don't make excuses. The thing is, like, people have always got excuses. And it's the same thing. It's just that little voice inside their head coming up with excuses, It's all it does, Find a way to do it. Like, I've been sick for the last 2 days. I had client calls last night until 10:30. It's like, I committed to these things. I showed up and I made it happen, So you've got to get so freaking clear on what it is that you want and connect a reason why you want it or why it's so important to you to give you drive to go after it.
And I think that's where we come back from what you were talking in the beginning, which is be truly in alignment with what you want and not wanting what other people want for you. Because if you are wanting what other people want for you, you're gonna lack the commitment to go and do that. But if you have your own internal reason to do that, you're gonna do it. And I can say this to myself, like when I started all this thing of like growing businesses and succeeding and all of that, I had an idea of what success was. And I started to pursue this success. I felt like, this is not it. Like, I just couldn't go. It wasn't enough for me. And my excuses got higher because that wasn't enough. And then once I changed and I said, okay, Manuela, what is success to you? And I figured out what it was. I actually went to do, okay, so I'm going to pursue because of this, because it's aligned with me. It doesn't matter what this success is.
100%. And like with all the stuff you're talking about, Manu, is like you can go deeper and deeper and deeper with this. And I'll give you guys a couple of examples, but how I said there's two things you've got to audit in your life. The first thing is obviously your environment, who you surround yourself with. But the next thing is that same thing. Success leaves clues. Study people that have done what you want to do. And you'll notice another thing. They all audit their thoughts. They're also conscious and aware of how they think. So it's a really simple exercise. People are like, how do you audit your thoughts? Cool. At the end of the day, journal and write down a win you had for the day and the biggest lesson you had and something you had, a thought that came up that told you weren't good enough or something, and question that thought. Go, great. When did that first thought first come to my mind? How long have I been thinking it for? Is it really true? How can I overcome it? How could I change the thought? It's the same thing. I talk to people every single day that want to get involved in coaching. They're like, I can't afford it. I'm like, that's the wrong question. You're telling your mind the wrong things. Like, you should be going, how can I afford it? You've got to change your thoughts, because that's exactly what you're going to create in this external world. But here's a really cool example for you. When you were talking about is like, you need to get aligned. You need to understand your values. And all of these things is like, people make up excuses. Yeah, but I don't know what that means. How can Google, how do I understand my values? And you'll find a free test on how to find out your values. So for example, Demartini's got a free values thing that you can do online, and it shows you your values. So why is that so important? Here's an example. Let's say your highest value is business, okay, and creating wealth. And you have a partner that always complains that you're at work, okay, and she's not aligned with your values, or your friends aren't aligned with your values. And let's say family and relationships is value number 2. You start feeling guilty being at work so that you can make your family happy, and then you and your family aren't aligned and you can't be present because you're not fulfilling your number 1 value. If you can start understanding your values, you can understand that, cool, is that for me to be my best version, I need to go out and make an impact somehow each day. I want to go out and help some people. And Sim understands that. So she supports when I have to maybe work extra, because she knows then I can show up my best version to be the father and the partner I am. And that's why it's so important to understand your values, because if you're living your life out of line with your values, there'll be so much friction. It's why you snooze the alarm in the morning. It's why you make up excuses. It's the reason why you take 5 steps forward and then you take another 3 backwards. And it's like you're doing everything you think is right, and you're still not getting the results. You're always focusing on this external world, but it's always been within. It's always yourself. It's always that squishy thing between your ears controls everything out here.
Now I can actually give you an example in online courses, people wanting to grow and scale. Some people say evergreen, some people say launch, some people say high ticket, some people say low ticket, and there's no one answer for everybody. Like if I'm an introvert and I go there and I push myself to do a live launch, the live launch is not going to convert anything because it's not aligned with what I want to build to my business. If my number 1 value is family and business is the second, for example, I need to create an evergreen because I won't be as present as I would be if I created a business based on, face-to-face clients and launches and etc. So knowing your values will help you to define the strategy that will fit for you and not the other way around. So many people, they are going to do launches that won't work well. They're going to spend money in ads that won't convert. All these things are going to happen. And how did you sleep in your car? The car was taken away. Yes. How did you kept going?
Yeah. It all comes down to, like, I've always loved. So for example, just this year, I had a major setback in business. So I launched a new business. I thought it was going to change the world, and it did the opposite to what I wanted in January. And to be honest, it was a massive hit to not only my ego, it was just like you start self-doubting yourself. And then what I did is I reread Elon Musk's book again. And the reason why I did that is because he's someone that I admire of some of the things that he's created and done in this world. So I want to know his story. And his story, there's more failures than success. So like you've got to literally brainwash yourself to understand that success is a part of the journey. Same thing, Michael Jordan. If you research Michael Jordan, he missed more shots and lost more games than he won. These people become obsessed with failing themselves forward. The thing is, people are just looking for, like, they're looking for the easy route, like whether they know it or not, they just hope their life's going to get easier, but really they've got to hope that they get better. Because think about a movie, right? When you watch a movie, the main character usually goes through some sort of challenge, some sort of setback, or they almost die, and that's why the movie's so exciting. It keeps you on your toes, and then you see them overcome it, and they become the superhero and they save the person. And that's why we enjoy the movie. We enjoy the challenge, the struggle, the ups and the downs. If the movie was just sunshine and rainbows the whole time, no one would watch it. And the thing is, it's the same thing with life. People just assume life's just meant to be a smooth upward hill, like just to make it happen. But life's full of ups and downs, and it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if you break this down just back to so that everybody can start believing this, it's like the same thing when you go to the gym, or let's say you go to the gym or you're learning how to run or something like that. You get a PT and they make you do extra reps, even though you feel like you can't do any more. They do that to put pressure on the body, because the body will not grow unless you make it hard. so that it needs to become more to lift that weight next time. Same thing in life. Like business, like I said, is like the universe is going to test you, whether you believe in the universe, God, or whatever it is that you believe in, it's going to challenge you. It's not just going to give you success or happiness on a gold platter, and say, here you go, you're such a good person, you deserve it. No. Here's a great example, the Sunshine Coast. There are so many good people on the Sunshine Coast. Most of them struggle and live week to week. They're good people, The universe doesn't reward people that just do what everybody else does. If you want different results to the average person, you need to do different things. And those things are generally hard, they're scary, they're risky, and they're things you generally avoid your whole life. And the thing is, until you build the courage to face those challenges or face those demons or like those things that are coming at you, nothing will change. It just won't. The world doesn't work that way.
I actually have an internal explanation to what you just said. And for me, we are here as human beings to develop spiritually, to develop ourselves, to, give one step forward. And if everything came to us so easy, we can see that with our children. If we just give them things, they're going to be like, yeah, now I can just lie down on my back, do nothing. But if we ask them, okay, so do you want to have that? Perfect. Go do the dishes first, go brush your teeth, and so on. They are excited to have that thing because they earn it. They act to achieve
There's a
that.
sense of achievement to it,
Exactly.
And as Tony says, like, I refer a lot to Tony Robbins because I just love the guy. He's my God, I guess. And he talks about the 6 human core needs, but the number one human core need besides love and connection is growth, The secret to happiness is progression, as they say. And it's like, for you to progress or for you to grow, your mind and your body is not required to grow unless it needs to. The only way it's going to need to grow is through pressure and challenge and failure and setback. And that's why it's like, you really need to fall in love with the journey, because when you reach that financial goal or whatever it is that you're really focusing on, or that the amount of clients you want or how many people you want at your launch, that momentary feeling of knowing you achieved that goal doesn't last.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the goal is just a milestone along your journey. You need to fall in love with the journey. It's all about the journey, because the goal isn't what you think it is. It's just a milestone. It's just a measurement for you to keep going and thriving and having to grow.
Yeah. And it all comes down to resilience. I actually remember this story of 2 groups of firemen, and they needed to cross the forest and arrive in the other side to win. And then before they started, this guy that was commanding the race said to them, just be aware of the lion. There are lots of lions in there. So the first group went first, and they got in halfway their goal, and they heard the lion, and they came back. The second group went at the same point. They heard the lion, and they said, it's just a noise. Let's keep going. So they kept going. They arrived where they wanted to arrive. So how many times the noise is just inside our heads? It's just a noise. There is nothing in there. There is no lions in there. We just need to keep going. And
100%.
And that's where most people will succeed if they do that, if they develop this resilience of understanding, is this real and what can I do about this? Is this just a noise that I'm carrying, as you said, from my ancestors, from my thoughts, from my society? Then I have to keep going.
Exactly. And look, with that, Manu, it's the reason why it's so important to audit your thoughts in line with what you just said then is because you need to remind yourself of the reason why you're doing it, because one day you will wake up with regret. One day it will be too late. One day you're going to get to the point where you might be lying on the hospital. Like, you hear this all the time of like people, smokers, right? You hear they end up on the hospital bed, and the doctor says, mate, if you don't quit smoking, you're going to die. And they finally quit smoking. Just it was almost too late, But no, it's like when you can reflect on being grateful for the things that you've got and understand that life is so precious and it could be over any time you want, like any time, you start treating your days differently. And I've had a few experiences in my life, and I get goosebumps talking about it now, but there's 2 things I think about. Like, there's days where it's like far out, like we had a really tough start to this year. And I really doubted myself, I really doubted, I'm like, am I ever going to achieve what it is that I really thought I was set out to achieve. And there was two things I used to always reflect on when I had really dark times. And one of them I learned from a meditation. And if anybody hasn't been to a UPW, Unleash the Power Within, a Tony Robbins live event, he takes you through this meditation. And you can download this meditation from YouTube. I think it's saved under one of his priming meditations. And what happens, he takes you through this meditation and you basically start thinking about and creating your dream life in your head. And then all of a sudden, he's got this way of using his words, and then he flips your dream life in your head and turns it to the opposite, to your worst nightmare. And I had my worst nightmare through this meditation. And I'll explain it to you guys. And especially if anybody's a parent on here or anybody has someone really close to them, this will definitely land with you. But anyway, so my worst nightmare was Xander was going through school, and I've got two beautiful young kids. They're incredibly gifted. And my opa, so we're Dutch, my opa was a famous Australian inventor. And Xander was starting to show similar traits to our opa throughout school. He was telling us about the world was about to end when he ends school. And he believed he'd created this invention to save the world, you know? And just so you guys know, I've got nothing against university and that sort of thing. But what happened is he's been telling me for all these years when he was in high school that he's going to save the world with this invention. And then all of a sudden he graduates. And then I have this weird thing. And I start seeing this really weird thing. And I see Xander, he's walking in front of me. Okay, he's walking in front of me. And he's walking, and I see this like, sort of blurry image behind him. Then it starts getting clearer as he gets closer. And all of a sudden I see the big university sign. And I said to him, I grabbed his hand like this. And I'm like, Xander, what are you doing? And he looks back at me. He goes, what do you mean, Dad? I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you said you're going to save the world with this invention, and you're going to university now. Like you said you're going to do this, and now you're not fulfilling your dream. And he looks back at me like this. And he looks me dead in the eyes and says, Dad, why would I follow my dreams if you didn't follow yours? And for me, that turns things on really quickly. You know, like things change so quickly, guys, like far out. It's like little things. It's like so many people snooze, like so many people go to bed motivated, you know, saying is like, you know what? It's Monday tomorrow. It's a brand new day and I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and get fit. And then they wake up in the morning and they snooze the alarm. It's like a different version of them wakes up. And every time you give up on something like that, you're reaffirming that voice inside your head.
Yeah.
You know, and life's so precious because the other thing is like my best friend, I lost him. He died. And I held his hand as he passed on. And the feeling of him passing and seeing the life that he lived inspires me to treat life like every day could be your last, you know, like you just, and I know this is a little bit deep, but like it's reality. One day you're going to wake up and you're either going to live with regret or you're going to think, you know what? I'm freaking darn proud of myself. I gave it everything I had, you know, and you're going to look back and you're going to go, wow, I really left a real impact because you know what? I truly believe from my heart of hearts. And like I was raised in a very religious family. So I started pushing God away, so to say. So I don't know what I believe in, but I do believe in like a greater energy. I believe like there's something there that's with us, like a higher spirit or a soul. I believe in something there. And I ask myself this all the time, but I truly believe every single person was brought into this beautiful world, this experience, like you said, this spiritual experience for a reason. You know, everybody's been brought here for a reason. But the biggest challenge is we are raised in a way to fit in, memorize stuff and regurgitate it on test papers, get a gold star for getting an A+. You know, we're so programmed to just be average and not be ourselves and be like everybody else. But I'm telling you now, if you're listening right now, I guarantee if you had a really good think right now, there were moments of time in your life where that certain teacher or that auntie or uncle or that friend looked at you when you used to do that weird little thing as a kid where you're really naturally talented at it, whether it was reading or helping people or doing something or helping animals. There was some sort of gift that you naturally had and you're naturally always drawn to. And you forgot about that gift, you know, because you wanted to do what your parents were proud of you for, you know, like people get more likes on a Facebook post for buying their first home than they do starting a business, you know, or following their dreams, you know. And until you really start questioning yourself, why is it you're here? Because that gift that you've got, that gift was given to you for a reason. Yeah. And the moment you can identify that gift, your life completely transforms, you know, because you can use that gift to leave this world and leave somebody else in a better place than when you first came here. And until you start questioning that, you're going to keep waking up and snoozing the alarm. You're going to keep blaming the government, your friends, your family, your financial situation, your boss, the kids. You'll always find excuses. But until you look within and go, cool, I am where I am right now and it's my fault, nothing's going to change. Nothing.
I love that. So, so, so powerful. Two things here. First one, you said already, some days we wake up and we are just not feeling like doing anything. And one thing that I do is I pray and I connect to my spirituality and I say, I'm not doing it. You guys are. Please use me today because I have no strength. But I know that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to do. And the second thing is which changed completely to me because I'm this overachiever. I'm always doing. I said to myself, I'm only going to say that I'm going to do something if I'm going to do something. So I'm not going to say I'm going to wake up 5 a.m. and put the alarm. I rather say I'm going to wake up at 8 and wake up at 8. And when I'm ready to wake up at 5, I'm going to wake up at 5. So setting milestones and reprogramming your brain so you say, yes, I did it. I achieved that. It's also
great. Because every time you fail on a commitment to yourself, you're reaffirming that, yep, I knew I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Yep, I knew I couldn't do that. And you're constantly reaffirming. So like what you said there, Manu, it's like set realistic goals. I know people say set crazy big goals, and that is important. But you've got to set realistic milestones of what it is that you're working towards, because otherwise you'll keep reaffirming that little voice inside your head that was always looking for love from mum or dad. And if you can't nurture that inner voice, that inner child, it's going to be a forever uphill battle.
Yeah.
And you just won't get to where it is that you want to get.
Yeah, this is so true. Sometimes some clients say, oh, I'm going to do this and this and that. And I'm like, okay, let's do one thing. And then when we nail that one thing, we move to the other one. Otherwise, we won't do anything. And you're going to feel like giving up because you don't believe in yourself. But
Exactly.
Dion, seriously, it was so deep. So I have no words to say like how powerful what your podcast was. Seriously.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was amazing. And now I want to finish this podcast with one question for the audience before one last question for you, Dion. What is the one thing you're going to implement from today? I know you guys learned a lot, but what is the one thing you're going to implement? And Dion, where can people find you? Because I know a lot of people will want to reach out and have you by them sides in their journey.
Yeah, so best way to get me is social media on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And it's just my first name dot surname. So it's just Dion.Monkovic, which is Monkivitch, just on Instagram. If you just search Dion, it'll pop up. I've just got a bright yellow background, so you can't miss it. And I'm on there every single day. I'm quite active. I'm constantly talking about this sort of stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching it. And we'll see you guys next week for another podcast. Thank you, Dion.